The big room of the Galactic Council was full of noise. Hundreds of different alien species talked among themselves under a high dome with lights that looked like stars. The room was round, with seats arranged in a circle. Some aliens were small, like the pair of gas beings in special suits. Others were large, like the group of bug-like creatures that thought as one mind. Humans were new to space politics. They were found only 30 Earth years ago, but they learned fast. Most species took hundreds of years to get voting rights, but humans did it in 20 years. This made some aliens admire humans while others didn't trust them. Amelia Harper stood near the door. She wore a simple blue uniform that showed she was a human diplomat. At 28, she was young for her job, but humans often moved up quickly because they didn't live as long as other species. She looked at her datapad one last time, checking the changes her team wanted to make to the Galactic Trade Agreement. In the middle of the room stood General Krax Dermillion. He was from the Zinthar Empire, the oldest and strongest group in the Council. The Zinthari were like lizards, almost 8 feet tall with scaly skin that glowed with different colors to show their feelings. General Dermillion's scales glowed bright orange as he hit the stand with his fist. "The human changes to Section 86B cannot be accepted," he shouted, his translator changing his hissing sounds to words everyone could understand. "They want our military shield technology in exchange for their simple fusion designs. This is not a fair trade." Amelia frowned. This wasn't right. Their proposal clearly said no military uses were allowed. She needed to fix this mistake before it ruined the vote. She raised her hand and the council computer recognized this as a request to speak. A soft sound let her know she could approach. She walked with confidence toward the center of the room, passing many different aliens. Some looked at her with interest, others with clear dislike. "Respected General," she began in a calm voice that carried through the room thanks to the sound system. "I think there's a mistake about our proposal. If you look at subsection 12, you'll see that military uses are clearly not allowed." "Quiet!" General Dermillion's scales flashed angry. "Gertum, I don't need a human child to tell me how to read a document I've studied for 3 cycles, Before Amelia could answer, the general's huge hand swung out, hitting her across the face with enough force to knock her to the floor. The room became completely silent. Physical violence was strictly forbidden in the council chambers. This place had been peaceful ground for thousands of years. Amelia touched her cut lip, looking up at the tall general. She didn't look afraid. She looked calculating. Blood ran down her chin as she slowly stood up. "General Dermillion," she said quietly, a strange smile forming on her bloodied lips. "You really shouldn't have done that." The room stayed silent for 3 long seconds. Then chaos broke out. Aliens started shouting in hundreds of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up. Some species demanded the general be thrown out immediately. Others wanted humans punished for causing trouble. Through all the noise, Amelia stood calmly, wiping the blood from her lip with a cloth. A medical robot floated near her, but she waved it away. "Order! I demand order!" The High Judge, a gas being, named Zelophilius in a fancy container suit, floated to the center of the room. Its crystals glowed bright blue as it took control of the room's sound system, forcing everyone to quiet down. "General Dermillion," the judge's computer voice said loudly, "you have broken the sacred peace of this chamber. What do you say to defend yourself?" The general's scales had changed to a mix of orange and purple, showing anger mixed with worry. The human was disrespectful. "I was fixing a factual error," Amelia cut in, her voice easily heard throughout the huge room. She turned to speak to everyone instead of just the general. "But that doesn't matter. Physical assault is not allowed here as it has been for 12,000 years. "You dare lecture me on council rules?" Dermillion hissed. "You humans have barely been in space for 100 years. The Zinthar Empire helped write those rules when your ancestors were still learning to make fire." Amelia smiled again, and something in that smile made several nearby aliens step back without thinking. "You're completely right, General. We are newcomers, which is why you should have asked yourself, how did we advance so quickly? How did we go from splitting atoms to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years, when it took most species thousands of years? She turned to face the whole council. Many of you have wondered the same thing. You've studied our history, our wars, how fast we develop technology. Some of you fear us. You're right to do so. A whisper spread through the room as Amelia touched her datapad. The huge hologram display in the center of the room lit up, showing a woman who looked like an older version of Amelia, standing on what seemed to be a moon. Behind her, partly hidden in shadow, was the outline of an enormous spaceship. "This is Admiral Catherine Harper of the Earth Defense Force," Amelia said quietly. "My mother." The room grew completely silent as everyone realized what this meant. Admiral Harper was known throughout the galaxy, the person behind humanity's incredibly fast rise through galactic ranks, the strategist who had outsmarted 3 separate attempts to limit human expansion, and the commander of humanity's mysterious, deep space fleet that few non-humans had ever seen. "And General," Amelia continued, turning back to Dermillion, whose scales had turned pale yellow. "She's been watching this meeting live. In fact, she's on her way here now." The general's scales lost all color. For the first time in his 300-year life, Crax Dermillion felt true fear. He had just struck the daughter of the most dangerous human in the galaxy, in front of everyone, and now that human was coming here. As if on cue, every communication device in the room chimed at once. Emergency alerts flashed on screens around the chamber. The orbital defense system had detected a ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. A single human vessel, moving faster than should be possible, headed straight for the council station. "That was fast," Amelia said, still smiling that strange smile. "Mom must have already been nearby." Panic started to spread among the delegates. The Zinthari representatives rushed to their communication stations, desperately calling their fleet commanders. Other species began filing emergency protocols. The High Judge floated closer to Amelia. "Representative Harper, please. There are 5,000 civilians aboard this station." Amelia's expression softened slightly. "No one is in danger, High Judge. At least no one except General Dermillion." She glanced at the Zinthari, who stood frozen in place. "My mother believes in justice, not revenge. But she will have her justice." On screens throughout the chamber, everyone could see the approaching human vessel. It wasn't particularly large, nothing like the massive Zinthari battleships, but something about its design, sleek, black, absorbing rather than reflecting light, sent chills through even the most battle-hardened warriors present. Admiral Catherine Harper had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 days passed after Admiral Harper's big announcement. The council station buzzed with activity as leaders from all species met in small groups, trying to decide what to do about the humans. Some wanted to form a defense alliance against Earth. Others argued that if humans had wanted to hurt them, they could have done so long ago. The fact that humans had secretly protected them from the void entities for centuries meant something. On the 4th day, the council called for another full meeting. This time, the High Judge would announce their decision. Admiral Harper, Amelia, and Captain Allen waited in a small room near the main chamber. The Admiral checked her uniform one last time. "Are you nervous?" Amelia asked. "No," her mother replied. "They will make the right choice because they have no better option." Captain Allen stood by the door, his face calm. The cut on his arm from the fight with General Dermillion had already healed completely. "What if they reject our offer?" he asked. "Admiral," Harper looked at him. "Then we continue as we have, protecting them whether they like it or not. But it will be harder without their help." A soft chime sounded, telling them it was time. They walked together to the main chamber. The room was even more crowded than before. Every seat was filled and many stood along the walls. The humans took their places at the center. Admiral Harper stood straight, her face showing no emotion, but Amelia could feel how tense she was. The High Judge floated down from above, its crystal lights glowing a soft blue. Representatives of humanity, the council has reached a decision after much debate. The room grew very quiet. Even the usual background noises of life support systems seemed muted. We have confirmed as much of your story as possible, the judge continued. Our historians have found gaps in our records about the Ardulians that support your claims. Our scientists have detected the energy signature of your sentinel stations, though they never understood what they were seeing before. The judge's crystals changed to a deeper blue. The council accepts that humanity has been protecting our space at great cost to yourselves for centuries. For this, we offer our thanks. A small ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd. The judge continued. However, the deception practiced by Earth over 30 years cannot be ignored. Trust has been broken. Admiral Harper's face remained calm, but Amelia saw her mother's hand tighten slightly on her datapad. Therefore, the council proposes the following terms, the judge said. First, a full technological exchange between Earth and all council species. No more secrets. The admiral nodded once. Second, joint operation of the Sentinel stations with teams from all major council species trained by humans. Another nod. Third, a new oversight committee to ensure all parties follow these agreements. The judge paused. In return, the council will accept humanity as full members with all your unusual abilities and modifications. We will not ask you to change who you are. Relief filled Amelia's chest. This was better than they had hoped for. We accept these terms, Admiral Harper said firmly. There is one more condition, the judge added. The crystals flickered with slight tension. The Zinthar Empire has requested special consideration for the incident that began all this. General Dermillion stepped forward from the Zinthari section. His arm was in a healing device, but he stood proudly. His scales glowed a calm blue, very different from the angry orange of their first meeting. The fight between myself and Captain Allen was conducted according to our laws, he said, his voice strong. I lost fairly. But the actions that led to that fight, my striking Representative Harper, require additional resolution. He walked closer to Amelia. Everyone watched nervously, remembering what had happened last time. In Zinthari tradition, when a warrior commits a dishonorable act against another, and combat has settled the matter, there remains the question of personal honor. The general bowed his massive head. I offer you my personal oath of protection, Amelia Harper. From this day forward until my death, I am bound to defend you against any threat, as if you were of my own bloodline. A shocked silence filled the room. This was an ancient Zinthari custom, rarely seen in modern times. It meant the general was offering to be her personal guardian for life. Amelia looked at her mother, who gave a small nod. General Dermillion, Amelia said clearly, I accept your oath, and in return I offer the friendship of my family and my people. The general's scales rippled with blue and gold, relief and honor. He placed his fist over his chest in a formal salute, then stepped back. The High Judge's crystals brightened. It is settled, then. Let this mark a new chapter in Council history. The Terran Council Accord is now in effect. The chamber filled with the sounds of hundreds of beings talking at once. Some were happy, others worried, but all knew this day would be remembered for centuries. Admiral Harper touched Amelia's shoulder, a rare public display of affection. Well done, she said quietly. What happens now? Amelia asked. Now comes the hard part, her mother replied. Working together. Over the next few hours, representatives from many worlds approached the humans. Some offered congratulations, others had questions about the Sentinel stations, and many were simply curious about the abilities humans had kept hidden. The Zinthari Prime Minister spoke privately with Admiral Harper. Your daughter handled this situation with remarkable grace, he said. But I must know, did you plan for this outcome all along? The Admiral's face remained neutral. What do you think? The minister studied her face. I think humanity has been playing a very long game, and I think we're fortunate you decided to play it with us rather than against us. That evening, Amelia stood at a viewport on the human ship, looking out at the stars. Captain Allen joined her. "The Admiral seems pleased with the outcome," he said. Amelia smiled. She should be. Everything went according to plan. Even getting hit by the General? Allen raised an eyebrow. Well, maybe not exactly according to plan, but sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected places. She touched her cheek where the bruise was now barely visible. A small price to pay for changing the galaxy. Outside the viewport, ships from many worlds moved through space around the station. Among them, small black vessels, human ships, that had been hiding in plain sight for years, now flew openly. A new era had begun, all because a general had struck a human girl, unaware of who she was. News of the fight spread across the galaxy in hours. The Zinthar Empire tried to keep it quiet, but too many people had watched. Videos taken by diplomats showed the human moving with impossible speed and strength. Questions began to arise about what else humans might be hiding. The day after the fight, Admiral Harper called for a special meeting of the full council. All member species were asked to attend. This was unusual. Humans had never requested a full session before. The main chamber was packed. Extra viewing platforms had been added to fit everyone. Some species had sent their highest leaders, not just their usual diplomats. They all wanted to know what would happen next. Admiral Harper stood at the center, with Amelia and Captain Allen beside her. The Admiral wore her formal uniform now, black with silver trim. She looked calm, but everyone could feel the power she held. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and strong. "For 30 years you have known humans as newcomers to your community. You've watched us learn your ways. You've helped us join your trade networks. Some of you have even become our friends." She paused, looking around the room. "But you have not known the truth. It is time you did." A murmur passed through the crowd. The Admiral touched a control panel, and a large hologram appeared above her. It showed Earth, but not as anyone had seen it before. The planet was surrounded by massive defense stations and shipyards that no one knew existed. Humanity was not discovered 30 years ago. Admiral Harper continued. "We were found 300 years ago by the Ardulian Collective. This caused shocked whispers. The Ardulians were an aggressive species that had disappeared about 200 years ago. Most believed they had destroyed themselves in civil wars. The Ardulians didn't come in peace. They attacked Earth, seeing us as easy targets. They were wrong. The hologram changed to show old battle footage. Earthships, much more primitive than current ones, fought against Ardulian vessels. The war lasted 15 years and nearly destroyed both our civilizations." The Admiral's face remained neutral, but her voice had an edge of old pain. "When it ended, we had won, but at terrible cost. Half of Earth was in ruins. The Ardulians were gone completely." "Impossible," a voice called out. It was the head of the Galactic Historical Society, a tall, thin alien with 6 eyes. "Our records show the Ardulians died out from internal conflicts." "Your records show what we wanted them to show," Amelia spoke up. "After the war, we realized something important. The galaxy feared power it didn't understand. If other species learned what we had done to the Ardulians, they might join together against us, so we hid." The hologram shifted again, showing human ships exploring the stars but staying hidden, watching other species from a distance. "For over 100 years, we observed the Galactic Council," Admiral Harper continued. "We studied your laws, your strengths, your weaknesses. When we felt ready, we created a careful plan. We sent out a small colony ship and allowed it to be discovered by a council exploration team." The shock in the room was almost physical. Many delegates stood up, talking rapidly to their teams. "You've been lying to us for 30 years?" demanded the Valerian ambassador, her feathery crest rising in anger. "We presented ourselves as newcomers to interstellar travel," Admiral Harper corrected. "We showed you only the technology we wanted you to see. We hid our true capabilities to avoid frightening you." Like the abilities shown by Captain Allen, added a small floating alien near the front. "No normal human could defeat a Zinthari in combat. Captain Allen is normal, for us, Admiral Harper said. After the Ardulian War, we faced a choice: remain vulnerable or change ourselves. We chose the latter. She gestured to Captain Allen, who stepped forward. The program began 200 years ago. We modified our bodies, making ourselves stronger, faster, and more resistant to damage. Every human you've met in the Council carries these modifications. Even the children? Someone asked in horror. The changes are passed genetically now, Amelia explained more gently. But we don't just have physical enhancements. We also have... She hesitated. Show them, her mother said firmly. Amelia nodded. She closed her eyes for a moment. Suddenly, small objects around the room, data pads, writing tools, even some smaller translation devices, rose into the air. They floated for 10 seconds, then gently returned to their places. The room erupted in chaos. Guards reached for weapons. Some delegates tried to leave. Please remain calm. Admiral Harper's voice cut through the noise. If we wanted to harm you, we could have done so many times over. We don't. We want peace. The High Judge's crystals were flashing rapidly, showing extreme agitation. If what you say is true, humans have violated numerous council laws regarding genetic modification, information disclosure, and technological restrictions. Yes, Admiral Harper agreed simply. We did what we needed to do to protect ourselves. She touched the control panel again. The hologram changed to show something that made even the bravest delegates feel cold fear. Massive structures floated in deep space, surrounding the entire council territory in a wide ring. These are Sentinel stations. We built them 200 years ago. They create an energy barrier that surrounds all council space. A barrier against what? Asked the Zinthari Prime Minister, who had arrived that morning after hearing about General Dermillion's defeat. Admiral Harper's face grew more serious. There are things beyond our galaxy that are drawn to intelligent life. We call them void entities. The Ardulians didn't just find Earth by accident. They were running from these things. Images appeared of dark, shifting shapes that seemed to hurt the eyes to look at. Several delegates turned away. For 200 years, we have maintained this barrier alone. It requires constant work and resources. The stations need to be upgraded soon or they will fail. The implications hung in the air. If what the Admiral said was true, humanity had been secretly protecting the entire Council from an unknown threat for centuries. Why tell us this now? Asked the High Judge. Amelia stepped forward. Because we're tired of hiding. Because we want to be true partners in the Council, not pretenders. And because we need your help. The barrier can't be maintained by humans alone anymore. Admiral Harper nodded. We propose a new agreement. Full disclosure of all human technology and abilities. Shared responsibility for the Sentinel stations. And in return, acceptance of humanity as we truly are. The chamber fell, silent as everyone considered what they had heard. Everything they thought they knew about humans had been wrong. The newcomers were actually ancient protectors, with powers and technology beyond anything the Council had imagined. We will need time to discuss this, the High Judge finally said. Of course, Admiral Harper agreed. But not too much time. The universe doesn't wait for committee decisions. As the meeting ended, Amelia joined her mother near the exit. Do you think they'll accept us? She asked quietly. Admiral Harper watched the delegates leaving, their faces showing confusion, fear, and fascination. They don't have much choice. But acceptance will take time. Was it worth it? Amelia touched her cheek where the bruise was already fading. Getting hit by the general? For the first time, a small smile appeared on her mother's face. Sometimes the universe needs a push. He gave us the perfect opportunity. Together they walked toward the human ship, aware that nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The black ship docked at the Council station 4 hours after the incident. Security cameras showed Admiral Catherine Harper stepping out of the airlock. She was tall for a human, with silver-streaked dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a simple black uniform with only small silver stars on her collar showing her rank. 5 officers in matching uniforms followed her. walking with perfect coordination. On the main deck, emergency meetings were happening in every conference room. The Zinthari ambassadors argued loudly with their military leaders over communication screens. Other species formed quick alliances, uncertain which side they might need to take. Amelia sat alone in a quiet corner of the medical bay. The cut on her lip had been sealed, but a dark bruise spread across her cheek. She looked up as the door slid open and her mother walked in. "Hello, Mom," she said calmly. Admiral Harper studied her daughter's face with cool eyes. The security footage didn't show the full damage. "It's nothing. Their medical tech is quite good." Amelia stood up, smoothing her uniform. "The Zinthari are in total panic. I've already received 4 official apologies." "Apologies aren't enough." The Admiral's voice was soft, but had an edge like steel. "They've broken the peace. More importantly, they've broken their own sacred military code." A tall man entered behind the Admiral. He had short brown hair and moved with unusual grace. "The station is secure," he reported. "Our team has mapped all exit routes and identified key personnel." "Thank you, Captain Allen." The Admiral nodded. "Please update the tactical display." Captain Allen tapped his wrist device. A hologram appeared between them, showing a detailed map of the station with moving dots representing different people. "The Zinthari delegation is here," he pointed to a cluster of red dots. "General Dermillion is surrounded by guards. They're preparing to evacuate him to their flagship." "That won't happen," Admiral Harper said. "Amelia, you've studied their military code more than anyone. What are our options?" Amelia touched her bruised cheek. "Their code is very clear. When a military officer commits a dishonorable act, he has 2 choices. He can give up his rank and position, or he can face ritual, combat with the offended party." "Perfect," her mother said with a thin smile. "Captain Allen, are you prepared?" The tall man nodded once. "Always, Admiral." "Wait," Amelia said. "The Zinthari will never agree to this. They're twice our size and 3 times our strength. They'll see it as an insult." "That's exactly what we want them to think," her mother replied. "It's time we stopped hiding." The main council chamber had been cleared of most delegates. Only the High Judge and representatives from the major powers remained. General Dermillion stood with his back straight, scales still a nervous yellow-green. 4 Zinthari guards flanked him. Admiral Harper entered with Amelia and Captain Allen. The room went silent. "Admiral Harper," the High Judge began, its voice synthesizer creating a calming tone. "We welcome you to the council station, though we regret the circumstances. The Zinthar Empire has offered formal apologies and significant trade concessions to resolve this unfortunate incident." "I'm not interested in apologies or trade deals," Admiral Harper said, her voice carrying easily through the large room. "I'm here for justice according to Zinthari law." One of the Zinthari ambassadors stepped forward. "What do you mean?" "Your military code is clear," Amelia spoke up. "When an officer behaves dishonorably, as General Dermillion did by striking a diplomat in a peace zone, he must either surrender his rank or face ritual combat." The ambassador's scales flashed in surprise. "You cannot be serious. The physical differences between our species make such combat meaningless." "Are you saying the mighty Zinthar Empire is afraid to follow its own ancient laws?" Admiral Harper asked quietly. The general's scales suddenly flashed bright red. He pushed past his guards. "I am not afraid of any human. I accept the challenge. Who will face me?" "You, Admiral?" "No." Catherine Harper turned slightly. "Captain Allen will be our champion." All eyes turned to the quiet man standing behind her. He seemed entirely average for a human, showing no signs of unusual strength or fighting ability. The Zinthari delegation broke into hissing laughter. The general's scales rippled with amusement. "This is your champion? He will not last 10 seconds. Then, you have nothing to worry about," Admiral Harper said with a cold smile. The High Judge floated higher, its crystals glowing with concern. "This is most unusual. The Council does not typically host combat rituals. The Council does, however, recognize the laws of all member species," Amelia pointed out. And it was in your chamber that the offense occurred. After much debate, the observation deck was chosen for the ritual. Word spread quickly throughout the station, viewing galleries filled with curious diplomats and staff from dozens of worlds. 6 hours after Admiral Harper's arrival, everything was ready. A circular platform had been created in the center of the deck. Stars shone through the transparent walls, creating a backdrop of cold, distant light. General Dermillion entered wearing traditional battle armor. The red metal plates covered his chest, arms, and legs. He carried a curved sword almost as long as a human was tall. His scales now glowed confident orange. Captain Allen stepped onto the platform wearing only a simple black bodysuit. He carried no weapons and wore no armor. He looked small compared to the general. "This is madness," whispered a blue-skinned diplomat to Amelia, who stood near the front of the viewing area. "Your champion will be killed." Amelia's face remained calm. "We'll see." The High Judge floated above the platform. "This ritual follows the Zinthari Code of Krav Thul. Combat continues until one party submits, can no longer fight, or dies. Are both fighters ready?" "I am ready," the general growled, his blade catching the light. "Ready," Captain Allen said simply. "Begin." The judge rose quickly away from the platform. The general charged forward with surprising speed for his size. His blade whistled through the air as he swung at the human's head. Everyone expected Captain Allen to dive out of the way in fear. Instead, he stepped to the side with perfect timing. The blade missed him by inches. Before the general could turn, Allen struck the Zinthari's armored side with an open hand. It shouldn't have done anything, but the general staggered backward, his scales flashing with surprise and pain. "What?" he hissed, looking down at the dent in his armor. "How?" Allen said nothing. He stood relaxed, waiting. The general attacked again, this time with a series of quick cuts designed to trap his opponent. Again, the human moved with impossible speed and grace. He seemed to know where each strike would fall before it happened. Then Allen counterattacked. His movements became a blur. He struck the general's joints and pressure points with precise force. Each blow made the general's scales flash with pain. The crowd watched in stunned silence. This was not possible. Humans were not this fast or strong. The general fought back desperately. His sword finally caught Allen across the arm, drawing blood. The human didn't even flinch. He grabbed the blade with his bare hand, blood running between his fingers. With his other hand, he struck the general's elbow with terrible precision. The sound of breaking bone echoed through the room. The sword clattered to the floor. The general fell to his knees, scales pale with pain and shock. "How?" he gasped. Captain Allen leaned close. "You thought you knew what humans were capable of. You were wrong." The general lowered his head to the floor in the traditional gesture of surrender. The room erupted in shocked whispers. The impossible had happened. A human had defeated a Zinthari general in hand-to-hand combat. Admiral Harper stepped onto the platform. "The ritual is complete. Justice is served." As Captain Allen walked away, Amelia noticed every alien watching him with new eyes. Fear mixed with wonder. Nothing would be the same again. "Was this your plan all along?" she asked her mother, quietly. The Admiral's face showed no emotion. "Sometimes the galaxy needs a demonstration. The Zinthari just provided us with the perfect opportunity." From the viewing gallery, diplomats from 100 worlds watched with growing unease. The humans they had dismissed as weak newcomers suddenly seemed much more dangerous, and this was only the beginning. 6 months passed since the day General Dermillion struck Amelia Harper. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined before that moment. The first mixed crews of humans and aliens now worked together on the Sentinel stations. Many alien scientists were shocked when they saw the true size and complexity of these structures. Each station was as big as a small moon, filled with technology that most species had never dreamed possible. "The power output of a single station could run all the core worlds for a year," said a Valerian engineer after her first tour. Her feathers had stayed fluffed in amazement for days afterward. At the Council Station, a new wing had been built specifically for Earth's expanded delegation. Amelia Harper had been promoted to senior ambassador. The the youngest person ever to hold the position. Today she waited in the main reception hall for a very important arrival. "Nervous?" asked General Dermillion, who stood beside her. True to his oath, he had rarely left her side in public for the past 6 months. His scales now usually glowed a calm blue or green, very different from the angry orange of their first meeting. "A little," Amelia admitted. "It's not every day the council welcomes a new species." The doors opened. A group of tall, thin beings with pale skin and large eyes walked in. They looked around with obvious fear, their bodies trembling slightly. These were the Nivari, a species that humans had discovered hiding in a remote star system just beyond council space. Amelia stepped forward, smiling warmly. "Welcome to the Galactic Council. I'm Amelia Harper, Earth's senior ambassador." The lead, Nivari, bowed low. "We are honored, Protector Harper. Stories of your people have reached even our isolated worlds." Amelia kept her smile in place, though the title surprised her. "Protector? Is that not what humans are called?" the Nivari asked, confused. "The ones who hold back the darkness? The guardians at the edge?" General Dermillion made a sound that might have been a laugh. "It seems your reputation grows, Ambassador." More council members arrived to greet the newcomers. The Nivari would spend the next few days learning about the council before deciding if they wanted to join. Amelia stayed for the formal introductions, then slipped away to another meeting. In a secure conference room, Admiral Harper sat with representatives from 12 major species. Holographic displays showed the sentinel stations and strange readings from beyond the barrier they created. "The latest scans confirm what we feared," the Admiral said, her face serious. "The void entities are growing more active. The barrier is holding for now, but the upgrades must be completed within a year." The Zinthari Prime Minister leaned forward. "The new power cores have been installed in stations 1 through 5. Our engineers say they're even more effective than expected. The Valerian fleet is patrolling the sectors near stations 6 and 7, added their fleet commander. "No unusual activity to report." Amelia entered quietly and took her seat beside her mother. The Admiral gave her a brief nod. "The integration of Council species into the defense network is proceeding well," Admiral Harper continued. "However, there is still one matter we must address." She touched a control, and the hologram changed to show a distant region of space far beyond Council territory. Strange energy readings pulsed around a cluster of stars. "We believe this is the origin point of the void entities. For 200 years we've maintained the barrier, but we've never attempted to address the source." The room grew very quiet. Everyone understood what she was suggesting. "You want to attack them?" asked the High Judge, its crystals flashing with alarm. "Not attack," Admiral Harper corrected. "Investigate, learn, and if possible, communicate." Murmurs filled the room. The very idea of trying to talk to the void entities seemed impossible. "These things have hunted intelligent life for countless millennia," protested the Zinthari Defense Minister. "They destroyed the Ardulians. They cannot be reasoned with." "We don't know that," Amelia spoke up. All eyes turned to her. "We've been so focused on keeping them out that we've never tried to understand what they actually want." "And you believe you can do this?" asked a small, gas-filled alien floating in a special chair. Admiral Harper and Amelia exchanged a look. The Admiral nodded slightly. "There's something we haven't told you about human modifications," Amelia said carefully. "Something beyond the physical changes and abilities you've seen." She stood and walked to the center of the room. "We didn't just make ourselves stronger or faster. We changed how our minds work." Amelia closed her eyes. The lights in the room dimmed slightly. The holographic display flickered, then changed to show something that looked like a neural network, but far more complex than any artificial system. "Some humans like myself can connect directly with technology, with each other, and potentially with other forms of consciousness." The revelation sent another shock wave through the representatives. This went beyond anything humans had admitted so far. "Are you saying you could communicate with these void entities?" asked the High Judge. "I believe it's possible," Amelia said. "With the right team and technology, we could try to establish contact. This is madness, hissed the Zinthari defense minister. Too dangerous. Perhaps, Admiral Harper agreed. But, continuing as we are, just holding them back isn't a long-term solution. The barrier requires more energy every year. Eventually it will fail no matter how many upgrades we make. The room fell into debate. Some believed the risk was too great. Others saw the wisdom in trying something new. Through it all, Amelia stood calmly at the center, waiting. Finally, the High Judge raised its resonators for silence. This requires careful consideration. We will form a special committee to evaluate the possibility. After the meeting, Amelia and her mother walked together along the station's observation deck. Through the huge windows, they could see ships from dozens of worlds moving in organized patterns. "They're afraid," Amelia said. "I don't blame them." "Fear can be useful," her mother replied. "It makes people cautious, but it can't be allowed to prevent necessary action." Amelia stopped to look out at the stars. "When you sent me to that council meeting 6 months ago, did you know it would lead to this?" Admiral Harper's face softened slightly. "I knew General Dermillion was dangerous and unpredictable. I knew a public incident would give us the opening we needed to reveal ourselves. But the specific way it happened? No. That was just luck." "Luck." Amelia touched her cheek where the bruise had long since faded. "The galaxy changed because one angry general couldn't control his temper." "The galaxy changed because humanity was ready for it to change," her mother corrected. "We just needed the right moment." As they stood there, a small ship docked at the station. More Nivari arrived, their eyes wide with wonder at their first glimpse of the council. They pointed at the stars, at the ships, and at the humans standing by the window. "Look," one Nivari child said to another. "The Protectors." Amelia smiled. Perhaps that name wasn't so bad after all.